It looks like Americans do not want the U.S. military to get involved in the conflict in Syria. According to a new poll by YouGov and the Huffington Post, only 5% of respondents said they would support sending ground troops to Syria, while 68% said they were opposed. Support for the military providing weapons to rebel fighters was only barely higher at 12%. Conducting airstrikes saw 49% opposed to 16% in favor. Opposition to each type of intervention crossed party lines, with Democrats, Republicans, and independents largely in agreement that the U.S. should not intervene. I mean, totally unsurprising to me.
No, of course. I mean, people are war weary. They're, as the headline says, I mean, they're tired of Iraq, they're tired of Afghanistan, Libya shook them up. People don't want to see intervention. The problem is something does have to be done here. I mean, you can't continue to see death tolls rise. You can't continue to see human rights abuses and not do anything, particularly since the U.S. has intervened in so many other places where they didn't have the moral authority or the real political need to do so.
Right, and I think, as we know, Americans don't want to see unilateral action. I think that's something you saw President Obama saying, we're not going to go this alone.
Right.
If we decided to have any type of intervention, it would be in the collective, international collective. And yet, I'm not even sure that military intervention is what is needed in Syria. I think you can talk about intervention. I think you and I agree that there needs to be something that is done. Whether or not that comes through military force, I think, is a separate question.
Right, and certainly not sort of our military force. You know, arming rebels is another way to think about a kind of paramilitary intervention, right? What you want is, you need some sort of boots on the ground. You need some sort of weapons funneled there to groups that can actually take down the unjust regime. But whether that becomes U.S. Troops or not is a different question. I think you're right. I don't think anybody wants to see that, and I don't think we need to do that. The problem is the rebels are so daggone disorganized.
I was about to say that. No, that's exactly the problem. I mean, what we know about them is that they're disorganized, and what we don't know about them is that we don't know about them, right? I mean, there's a lot of information that's missing. It's still not clear who's going to be the most ascendant of the various groups.
Right.
And until we have that type of intelligence information, I think it's very hard to make a decision about how we move forward.